Good morning to the people of the Virgin Islands. This is Kent Bernier. I'll be running for governor with the Bernier Venture Group. We want to thank the early voters that supported us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a trying time for the people of the Virgin Islands. It is a crossroad. We also want to ask everyone on August 6th, tomorrow, that we need your precious vote so we could proceed to get our government back on track. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been 6 months at this. We've been educating the public. We've been addressing the issues, and we want to reconfirm that the Bernier Venture team is the team that can leave our territory to the next 21 century. Why is that? We're at a point now that all we have in the Virgin Islands is fear, tears, sadness, and death. And that comes to a situation where we need to fully have functional hospitals. We are going to build new hospitals, and we're going to have them on all three islands, including St. John, which will be upgraded from a clinic to a hospital that you can get full service. We want to be able to birth the babies in St. John and make sure our people from St. John get the same care that they so lacking for a long period of time. We also want to decrease the amount of mainland off-island trips. We're costing the government up to $45,000 plus every time patients fly out of St. Croix. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a fund inside our government. It's called Unfunded Care Fund, where every month we should be subsidizing the government, which is actually the hospital, for undue bills that can't be paid. And President Biden and our Congress lady, Stacey Plaskett, has provided $540 million in an American Recovery Plan to meet our needs. We do need that floating hospital. Whether the governor or the administration is not aware how things are done, in a state of emergency, One Louis North cannot facilitate the needs of the people. And as governor, I will engage to have that facility. It's just like you're going to any outpost which can be used to make sure. The financial hardship for our people flying out of here, the cost of medical care and the stress on the family has overtaken what needs to be done to protect our young, our elderly, and our forgotten. St. Croix Hospital was a tragedy for my mother. My mother actually came from Tortola, came to St. Thomas for a visit, and had somewhat of an issue, and we went to the local hospital, and they said we must go to St. Croix because St. Thomas doesn't have the probe that Dr. St. John has, and she can be relieved. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know, my mother was a victim of St. Croix outhouse. We stayed there for 3 months. My mother actually flew to St. Croix for a minor condition and ended up actually being devastated. In that hospital in St. Croix, there's no air condition and there was no fan. So my mother ended up having a tray put in, and my mother actually suffered her last days because of the behavior of this administration and the behavior of lack of vision. So I am aware of the conditions, and I know what the people of St. Croix has been going through, and I want to let the people of St. Croix and the people of the Virgin Islands, the Bernier Venture team is prepared to address these issues immediately. And with that, we will leave the future of better care, and our local doctors have to be on board with whatever future arrangement is going to be implemented. I want to share with the public, we spend $1 billion for health care, including the $175 million for Sigma, that actually only 15% of that is stay here. The other 85% goes off island, and that money does not circulate. As you can see, the local doctors are actually putting in their own surgical pads. This could be avoided if the local government and the doctors sit down and consider an MOU and a condition which could be used to capture all the funds that are going out of this territory. Again, it was a model of Dr. Snyder, and it was a model of Dr. Griffin. We've lost two great visionaries in the healthcare system. The Bernier-Benter team is prepared to address those issues. Why I can say that? In the tobacco bond settlement, I led the task force through the Public Finance Authority to build the Cancer Center and the Cardiac Center. So I have firsthand experience as to what needs to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bernier team is prepared the first day we get into office to immediately start addressing these issues. In respect to our schools, we talk about a condition where the fire department just explained that there are mold and plumbing issues at our schools. We also talked about our school curriculum today, where jobs and certification program for our students graduate. I recently listened to the governor and congratulate the new commissioner from St. John, Ms. Wells Henderson. I am aware of her expertise, and like David Silverman, we know that our St. Johnians work very hard. And with that, I want to share with her that she needs the tool. Her job should be to educate our children. But the Public Finance Authority's job is to actually do an MOU with education, whereas the Public Finance Authority, through the director, should design, build schools. What I'm saying to the people of Virgin Islands, but first, the Public Finance Authority audits must be up to date in order to get these federal funds, and they will be design built. Why I can express myself to that level, under the Turnbull administration, we built 3 schools: Lockhart School, Boshelter School, and Bowski School. Ladies and gentlemen, you're dealing with a governor that had the first hand-on position. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to pay $400 million in consultant fees to Witt O'Brien, to Price Waterhouse, or to BDO, the accounting auditing firm that was hired by the Public Finance Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening to our people is beyond humanity. And this is the concern the Bernier-Benter team has. We are prepared to go in the first day and start addressing the needs of our people. What happens in that condition? We are prepared to make sure that our government employees are paid substantially. Why am I saying that? In 2016, and from 2006, we had 12,000 government employees. And there was an early retirement that was pushed by the DeYoung administration, and they got, using the Senate special interest groups, paid out $10,000 early retirement, and again using our insurance guarantee fund. That was a political plague that the Wutup came. But I'm sharing the wisdom today to say to you, today we only have 7,000 employees. So with the 5,000 employees we fired, the revenue from that should have been able to give a 30% increase on every government income and the wages. Why I'm saying that? Today, the federal government, after 2 Cat 5 hurricane and COVID and inflation and recession, we were able to get $500 million every year from the federal government. So 2017, we got $500 million to the general fund. 2018, we got another $500 million to the general fund. 2019, we got another $500 million to the general fund. 2020, we got another $500 million. And 2021, we got another $500 million. So we got $2.5 billion to the general fund. And our general fund budget every year is $900 million. And that's simple because that's actually 30% of your GDP. Your GDP was $3 billion. 30% of that is $900 million. That's how they determine the general fund. What I'm saying to the people of the Virgin Islands, the reason why the government employees aren't getting what's due to them, the $8 billion that we got from FEMA, instead of paying our employees, we're paying the consultants the $100 million that belong to the government employees. What I'm saying to you, another issue that's impacting the government employees by not getting paid, presently we're taking government agencies out of government buildings and putting it in Niski Center and in Tutu Center. Ladies and gentlemen, we are giving away our revenues to meet special interest need. And that's unconscionable and mismanagement. And why this governor, and I'm understanding he also bought another building in Frederiksted. You see, using this state of emergency, this government and this governor is using the general fund of the Virgin Islands for his own checkbook to enrich his friends and his cabal. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bernier Benter team is going to change that behavior. And I want to share with you, our economic vision is to take this country, our country, from $3.8 billion to $8 billion a year. And this can be done based on the $14 billion that's sitting. We haven't built one school, we haven't built a hospital, we haven't built healthcare. All we've been doing with the governor's 100 special interest projects was supplementing what's basic fundamental house care issues. And I can say that to you because look at the condition of what we're living under. Look at St. Croix with nothing that could be justifiable. Look at St. Thomas besides cleaning the roads. But dropping tar by using the American Recovery Plan a month before election does not fit the vision for the people of the Virgin Islands. I'm saying to you, my job and Oakland Benter's job is to clean up this economy and let the private sector come on board. Meaning that we have enough money, despite the inflation and the recession, with the $14 billion that we have sitting that was actually appropriated to us due to President Biden, due to Stacey Plaskett that sits in the Ways and Means Committee. We have 10 years of budget that we have sitting, no matter what happens to our economy. The problem we have, ladies and gentlemen, is we haven't done the capital projects to generate the jobs and create the jobs for a young one that are sitting in these communities. And we could do training and we could do whatever we need to do, again, using our university as an intern for our juniors and seniors to assist our children that have been affected from 2017 with the hurricanes, the COVID. In 2017, a 13-year-old today is 18 years old with no guidance, no support. So there are 2.5 thousand young people in our community that need pilot programs, and they can assist in the skills and the training centers that we're going to develop and work with the local contractors where through labor we can pay them to learn on the job like we do for everyone else. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a house crisis, and the reason why we have a housing crisis, again, 6,000 homes are necessary, 1,600 homes that were never taken care of, 1,100 rooftops that were never taken care of. HUD provided, Marcia Fudge, again, the funding is there, $770 million sits in HUD to deal with this issue. The problem we have is our government hasn't done audits for 20 years. The reason why the Public Finance Authority cannot be the subscription, which actually the funds from HUD could go to PFA if they had an audited financial statements, and right away these funds could have been distributed without any question directly to contractors, and that would have been addressing the issues. We are still stuck in the mud with this administration that lack the accounting skills and expertise. The problem we have, BDO and the financial entities that we're using as consultants, they have no interest in correcting the problem because they want to sit for another 10 years. So what's going to be happening to our children if the financial consultants and the governor is not in a state of emergency, but our young people are dying in the streets? Our children now, as the governor said, he's doing what you would call visual education. That can't work in the Virgin Islands. Our infrastructure between Liberty, between broadband, between all these entities, we are dropping calls. Our young people are not prepared to deal with this issue because we don't have the proper infrastructure set up. The Bernier Venture team knows that we have to take fiber to every household so the calls can't be dropping. This is the problem we have, and we will address these problems. Ladies and gentlemen, I will share with you WAPA. And why I can share with you WAPA, as a former board member of WAPA, as a former public service commissioner, that I'm aware of the ongoing issues of WAPA for the last 4 years. I brought to the attention of this governor personally, as well as the board and the consultants, that WAPA outstanding obligation is $1.2 billion. And WAPA is not a going concern entity. What we have to do is sit, which was declared by our Congress lady again, Stacey Plaskett. We need a state of emergency. What we do in the UK is called a Marshall Plan. You have to reset WAPA. WAPA unfunded liability for the employees of WAPA is $400 million. Ladies and gentlemen, WAPA has been mismanaged from the top. That's the report. That was said in the report, that the management team of WAPA was also ingrained in enriching themselves by coming out and participating in the corruption. So the Inspector General and the governor knows what the problem is. The Bernier Venture team is prepared through executive order. We have to write off $600 million and transfer that to the Public Finance Authority and reset WAPA and bring WAPA rate down to 27 cents per kilowatt. This can be done because the Department of Energy, HUD participation, USDA, as well as our Congress lady that sits on the energy issues, and a governor that knows how to structure that. We know in 2012, an offer was made to put 60 megs of solar power on WAPA in Port Authority property for WAPA at 12 cents per kilowatt. We don't need to privatize these solar plants. They should be owned locally, and the governor don't need to do another fix with his friends. You see, if we do our audits at the HUD through Mercia Fudge, we could finance that pilot program, and we could put in the batteries. 60 megs will be double the amount of power that St. Croix uses. At 12 cents per kilowatt landed by the cost to do that project, we can bring WAPA down. And what they would do in St. Croix, that Greco generator that we're renting now for $2 million a month, that's actually $48 million we'll be saving with the rentals and the excess costs in St. Croix. That could cover the debt service of WAPA and be able to bring our rates down to 27 cents per kilowatt. In the interim, St. Thomas now with a waste to energy plant, as well as the windmills, I want to share with the people of the Virgin Islands that we have to go to recycle, and the waste to energy plant is the key. Every household will have 2 bins, one for recycling and one for the excess garbage that does not fit. And with that, we will have the feedstock we need to take care of the problem and address. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Bernier Venture team. You don't have to worry about where we at financially. What we do with Interior is have monthly reports, quarterly reports, and Interior Secretary Debbie Hagelin has to be a part of the future of the Virgin Islands. With Debbie Hagelin support Interior Secretary, with our Congress lady Stacey Plaskett, we will be able to meet our needs on any grounds. Like I said to you, we have the financial means and ways to get this done. I want to let you know we're in the position to get into this government and do a financial restoration. We have to do the tax study commission. Within 120 days, we'll be able to know how this is going to impact the residents, the businesses, and future investors. And that's what the Bernier Benta team brings to the table. Once we find out what the burden is going to be, and we know we have our audits done, we'll be able to bring the cost of living down for the people of the Virgin Islands and live within our means. This was done under Charles Wesley Turnbull administration, creating the financial team. At that point, the government budget was $480 million when I came in to head up the task force. When we left Government House in 2006, the government budget was $1.2 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, besides that, we had $600 million in CDs that sat. $380 million was sitting actually in finance, and the record is here to show where CDs with Mr. McBean that was available with the great leadership of Bernie Stumble that had the vision and had the wisdom and expertise to manage the cash flow of our government. And at the same time, I was at the Public Finance Authority where we had $220 million available to do disbursement because of the saving. The only debt at the time we had was $585 million in our general obligation bonds. Ladies and gentlemen, we could have paid the retro off and we could have paid the pension. The problem is the incoming administration decided to use the funds for whatever interest they had for themselves. I'm sharing this with you because you must know the history and from whence we came. I am in the position now to say we don't need to be a tale of two cities, the have and the have not. The Bernier Benta team wants us to be that shining city on a hill. And that's the purpose of my presence here today. I need to share with the public the richness of what you have. We have the capacity, we have the means to take care of ourselves, but you have to have people that have the desire to take care of our young, our elderly, our forgotten. And with that, we want to share with you that the Bernier Benta team needs you to come out tomorrow. We need you to give us that precious vote. I'm appealing to our young, our elderly, as well as our forgotten, to come out and support the Bernier Benta team. Our future, our children, our quality of life depends on what's done tomorrow. And I'm sharing this with you. I need the time. I'm sharing this with you. We need each other. We need each other. And it's important that we come together as one, else we'll all die as fools. And that's from Martin Luther King. Again, I'm thanking everyone that's given us their precious vote. And like you said, we made history. The people of the Virgin Islands that support the Bernier Benta team should be proud of ourselves. We made history, ladies and gentlemen. We actually was the highest number of votes early voted. That tells you how important it is. And this came from Ms. Fox, the director for the Board of Election. And this is why it's important that we all work together and stay together so we could actually take care of each other. And this is where we are in history. I'm sharing wisdom, I'm sharing hope, and I want to share with you the economic development from the private sector side that's lacking. It's important that we get our hospital taken care of. It's important that we get our infrastructure, our roads taken care of. And the key factor is for St. Croix, we must build back Frederiksted to 1917 and the beginning of 175 years anniversary. We must build back Betty's Hope as the sporting capital of the Caribbean. Not just car racing, not just horse racing, but could you believe the vision from 2006 was to build a Diageo Convention Center, 600-room hotel, Marriott Hotel. And ladies and gentlemen, our pride of the Caribbean, Tim Duncan, 5 times NBA VP. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bernier Benter team has the passion and the ability to develop such a facility. As I said to you in Betty's Hope, we only will be paying 12 cents per kilowatt. Right now we're paying 62 cents per kilowatt. We're talking about dropping the cost of water down at least 60%. And that's where we are in history in respect to St. Croix. St. Croix right now, it's not being taken care of properly. It's been neglected for the last 20 years. And the Bernier Benter team is in a position, with my expertise in the development and the financial market, we have people sitting, people that build all the Olympic stadiums throughout the world. We also have the financial wherewithal to bring in a team of people that did the Frederickstead development. And we're not dealing with concept like the governor. I want to share with you what this governor is playing for the last month or 2 weeks before he leaves. The Charles Howard Hospital, Charles Howard medical facility that he put in the newspaper, some 200 million. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a concept. You could buy those concepts out of the newspaper anywhere in the States when you're putting concepts. There's no engineering or architectural work in that. To build such a facility, it'll take another 10 years. That is political plight that disturbed me. It's the same thing that's happening to us with our schools, besides the hospital, besides everything that's going on. Within the last month or two, our governor is using concepts and selling that to the public as an achievement. These are the things that are wrong. The 100 things that this governor got accomplished are basic, fundamental, daily operation maintenance that should have been done from day 1 or day 2 of his office. Let me share something with you that's more hurtful. Ladies and gentlemen, we gave away a hotel in St. Croix to a friend. And at the same time, we give $5 million to a catalyst fund to build a hotel. We sold a hotel for $3 million, and we give the university, the tech park, to build a hotel and give them $5 million. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kings Alley Hotel under the Charles Wesley Turnbull administration was supposed to be used as the training center for the same UVI. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the issues that I will have to find and restructure what's best for our people. And these are the issues that are impacting us as we go forward. But the Bernier Benter team see things a lot better. And I'm here to say to you, the financial side of our community, especially St. Thomas, we have to take care of our infrastructure. The waterfront right now is in turmoil. It's total traffic with 4 lanes going both ways. That's not the answer. The problem is that project was given to a local local architect, Sinead Coward, that never got an opportunity because Main Street took it upon themselves to enrich themselves. And what's happened with that design, downtown revitalization, misuse our property. I want the people to know that downtown belongs to the people of the Virgin Islands, not special interest. And we're about now to expand that area, and we're recommending that it goes out 40 feet, and we have parallel parking. This was done elsewhere that we know that work, and the vision is to have a waterfront that's active and create small business and vendors on the waterfront. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a position now with the Bernier Benter team to create the infrastructure and development to enrich our territory. I will wait 1 minute and allow my running mate, Oakland Benter, say a few words. Oakland?
And good morning to the listening audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I bid you a warm Friday morning as you're listening in your living rooms or at work as the team of Campaigner and Open Bender comes into your home or into your workplace. Yesterday while we were sitting listening, as the governor spent some time on the radio yesterday, this very station, and he went to several things that drew our concern and cause for us to pause. In listening to the governor delivery, as he indicated that the Virgin Islands Hospital is the only hospital that will take care of our patients. And if it weren't that there were other places, they would not get the same service with them. To confuse the issue, we fly people out of our territory every single day on an aircraft. What are we saying? These people are transported to another destination, and just as we are benefactors of the federal guidelines when it comes to medical assistance, why is it that as we are applying the same policies to the territory, that on the mainland of the United States is not the same? That is not true. We're moving in direction in trying to correct our shortfalls. The years of which we've spent in this territory, we've seen where we've been and where we are today. And when we sit and we listen to what's being said, when you see our dead is being transported to St. Thomas for the taxi, when we see our loved ones boarding an aircraft or leaving this territory, when we see and we learn from our family and friends of an appointment to visit a physician who would take them between 3, sometimes to 6 months before they can get a visit. When we see and hear what has been the issues in this territory and say that the community is lying, is not right. Today, when we look at our teachers, our professionals, after the COVID, our taxi drivers, where it was agreed to change the tariff for taxi drivers, and we say to them that we're going to pay them $1,000 because during the time of the COVID, a lot of the businesses were impacted. It's not just taxi drivers, it's individuals who work in hotels, individuals who work in restaurants, and all of those areas which had to close because of our protocols, which was instituted because of the COVID. Are you going to pay the taxi driver $1,000 to assist them? But when the taxi drivers look at the time, over a year, 2 years, just about during the pandemic, they've lost significant revenues. A mortgage in their home with a one-time $1,000 payment does not satisfy that. What should have been happening, ladies and gentlemen, during the COVID is that this government, based on the subsidies we receive from the federal government, should have been making sure that we're matching the income of those individuals who are impacted. So if you're a taxi driver and your daily income was $1,000, $3,000, and you're able to show proof of your filing of your taxes to show what your earnings were for a year, this government was supposed to subsidize. But it didn't just say that to our people. You make them believe that $1,000 will take care of those who already lost their homes when they couldn't pay their mortgages. $1,000 to the taxi drivers. And some who went to hardship because they also got to pay our government agency bill, WAPA, their light bill. They had to pay the taxes to the government of the Virgin Islands. They had to pay everything that state requires and still take care of themselves and their families by supplying subsistence food and other ones. We cannot continue to walk on our people like this. And to say it now because in the heat of an election, all of a sudden we're splashing cash as if it's an hors d'oeuvre or it's a dessert. I recently heard, as I was listening very carefully, that I've been involved in what they call a state tax bill passed and voted on by myself within the legislature. And as the governor said individuals running against him, I'm going to put myself in a position of sitting in the legislature as well. When the syntax was passed, if you ask the question who were the senators behind the syntax, and where they are presently and find out exactly who the author of the bill was and on whose behalf was it prepared. It's right within the confines of the governor's office. So today when we look at where we are and listening to the shortfalls when it comes to moving our government employees and our children who are here into some professional atmosphere so they can take care of themselves, if we could have done all of that, as I'm hearing, why wasn't it done before? Why did it take an election year to say it can be done now? Why? Most recently, the governor explained that they're in mode of preparing to start construction on many facilities throughout the territory. Where are the plans? Where are the approved plans? Not a charrette, not a drawing. Where are the approved plans which were prepared that this government paid for and approved by FEMA? Where are those plans? So when you say these things because it's a word or language in a document, where is the forward movement of it as far as approval by one of the government agencies, BPNR? Where is it? Department of Natural Resources. Where are those plans? Ladies and gentlemen, it is easy to speak and say things now. We're on the heel of an election, a primary election, where this administration did not believe that there were men of the likes of Ken Benin Sr. and Open Benta who were out there paying attention. We're in the heel of a primary election where all of a sudden the people of this territory now have a purpose. We're in a primary election where many families have lost their loved ones by way of medical care or things that we could have had in this territory, and we would have been able to say to them good morning and good afternoon rather than visiting a grave site. We're in the heel of a primary election, and all of a sudden, every segment of this government is functioning. We're hiring. All these attributes today, why didn't they happen before? And when we look at what's going on next door with the governor, the ex-governor of Puerto Rico who has been recently indicted and arrested, we need to pay attention to what's been happening within our own territory and who has been the masters of the shortfalls of our growth. Moving our territory forward. As Mr. Benir explained, with our Youth Commission agency that's already enacted as law, that's still inactive as far as assigning individuals to run the program, what's to become of our children? And as we look at some of the areas, when we look at what's going on within our high schools today, where we know for a fact that education, when it comes to one child in the public school, one child, the figures that we're looking at is at least 16,000 per child. The push to open school on the 8th, which is Monday, the push to open our schools on Monday is because each child, not education being the sole purpose, but each child that walks to the gates and attendance is taken, those numbers, as far as the loved ones, our babies, their numbers are counted and submitted to the federal government for payment. But if we're being paid, or the government is being paid by the federal government to take care of our children as far as school is concerned, how is it that we're paying our children? Well, our teachers have to put their hands in their pocket and buy material to teach our children. How is it that we have the lowest average when it comes to retention of our children as far as basic education, based on the standards that we are way below? Our mathematics skills are way below. Yes, we have utensils and the tools, but we're not applying them what it's supposed to. And that is why our teachers are going through such a hard time in trying to address and take care of our children. When you turn a blind eye to the true fact of what's going on in your homes, and you live it every day, and you see it every day, and you hear that everything is okay, then you got to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I going to fall for this and accept this disrespect when I know better? Am I going to continue to allow for individuals to speak for me at a national level when they speak before Congress, when they speak before engagements throughout the territory or throughout the United States, and they represent that the territory is the best that there is when you are actually sitting waiting to be a benefactor, a beneficiary of what the best is that they have been speaking about. Time and time again, as we sat, Mr. Benet and I sat and we listened. And we listened very carefully to every show that exists in the territory. And we heard you. And we continue to hear you. And we learned of the issues that were plaguing, and in some instances, who feels that knows it, the experience on our own behalf, to see it, to feel it. We sat with you in your homes, in your neighborhoods. We went through the trail. We stood and we spoke with you to the point where tears came to our eyes at times. Can't believe that we live in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that what some of the sufferings that people are going through in the home is real here. I've heard and seen big men cry when they talk about trying to take care of family. And these are young men sitting at the side of the road, which the administration said doesn't exist, that we don't have individuals who have degrees that are sitting in corners. They've forgotten that we have closed the doors in a lot of our children's face when they came home, educated and ready to serve, and say that they don't have experience, even though they have the education. This very government. As being a senator, which I was in the 33rd legislature, the Honorable Sylvester Roach pushed a bill that enacted that students go to UVI in the Virgin Islands after graduating from a high school in the Virgin Islands can attend UVI free. There's some language in there that we forgot to mention. It depends on the income of the family to a certain degree. But in that bill, as a sitting senator, I moved an amendment to the bill that would enable children who have left our shores to be able to return, and they left our shores after the hurricane. High schools were closed. Our school system was in disarray. A lot of children had ambition to go on to college. Many had ambition to move on to other services, and they needed to fulfill their graduation. So the parents sent them away to complete their junior and senior high school in other districts. They were not included in the language of the free tuition to UVI. The majority of our children were displaced. I amended the bill by including children from the Virgin Islands who have been displaced from this Virgin Island as a result of the hurricane can also be included, that can come back home, even though they graduated from another high school in the United States, and be a benefactor, beneficiaries of the same as if they had graduated from a high school in the Virgin Islands. I was also the senator who realized that a lot of people have properties and they have mortgages with the banks. And in that, they had already paid off the mortgage, but the banks kept their deeds and documents, and you as a mortgagee had to get insurance. The insurance was actually, when you secured the insurance, was handled by the bank. The bank was the benefactor of the insurance. And while you've already paid off your mortgage because you couldn't get your deed, the bank became the area which your insurance proceeds was spent or sent to. The bill moved that the recorder of deed at the Lieutenant Governor's office shall, from the bank, not you going to the bank and trying to get it, that the bank must provide your deed, a recorded deed on your behalf to the Lieutenant Governor's office. That enables homeowners to be able to levy against the deed to go out, whether they use it as collateral or anything they needed to use your property to do, where it was separated from the bank's action. These are actions that meant so much to many people, and it was addressed. I say to you, my ladies and gentlemen, you hear so much that's taking place as far as what they said is going to happen, that should have happened. We have left our people in disarray. We've forgotten that we had a role to play, and we played a game of cat and mouse. But today, the mouse traps are out. The people are aware and are conscious of the shortfalls that they have had to endure. So the money that they're looking to spend on this is for you and whatever, it's always there. It's not you. Can you imagine what you could have done with those proceeds every month for the time that you were laid off? Can you imagine what you could have done with those proceeds when it came to taking care of you and your family and your mortgage before and after you laid off? We have forgotten that we have a responsibility, and the responsibility is you, the people of this territory. So don't be defaced or misled. Don't be misguided or bamboozled. We've seen this game at play previously, and we are, in fact, in the same place we were then and now. Moving as far as expenditures as paying taxes, it's your money. But a patent was developed under the previous governor, and it is the same patent that's being used, nothing new. It was created by another administration to formulate the mechanism for the tax return, not this one. And while we take claim to produce some products that came from others, let's take claim to the shortfall of our health care as well. Let's take claim to the crime situation within this territory as well. Let's take claim to the water issue as it persists today as well. Don't take glory where glory was already adjusted by others. Take the glory of the time that you serve and give honor to the people who have left a great footprint in the sand for you to walk in that has enabled you to be able to look a certain way because it's a creation of a thought process within yourself. But the fact of the matter is, every governor in the past left something. That's a fact. Every governor, including this governor that's going to be out of the office very shortly. But ask what the value of what was left. Ask what the value was to the people of the service. What's the worth? How has it strengthened our territory? Or how has it maimed or destroyed the very fabric of our very existence into what's going on within the federal agency? So while we hear about all these plans going forward, ask to see the plans. When they say about all these things that's happening, ask for them to show you the origin of where it began and under what administration it began under. What they didn't know and realize, ladies and gentlemen, and the team of Tempanier will never walk into government and say that created every fabric, that government is a continuous product no matter who sits in the office respectively. It means this, that what's good will continue, what's been budgeted by the federal government in the past is just a continuation, is just a time that it was completely allotted, and it's moving forward. We're saying right now that all these funds and proceeds that are sitting within banks, that are whether in CDs, I'm talking government money now, that's sitting in CDs and all these other stuff, waiting to mature before it's expended, those days are done. We're saying that property belongs to the government that has been sold illegally, even though the signature was authorized based on the state of emergency. It is the fact that what created the emergency and what we are managing this government, not the other factors that had nothing to do with the state of emergency, which is more on the health side and taking care of people to be able to sustain themselves. When we sell properties of the government by way of not having the legislation involved for having input, we have disenfranchised you, the people, because your voice has not been heard. And your voice goes through a process where it's heard, where you can present yourself before the legislature and oppose to any action or any bill that's coming before the floor concerning any matter. You were not afforded that ability or opportunity. And when the VI government spends more money for a product, and then the buyer comes in and buys it for much less than what the government expended, then that tells you another story. Why? Why? When we look at individuals whose property taxes are still a question mark based on how some people have infringed on other people's property, and we have individuals who are working within the system that's assisting other individuals in taking away people's property, but we knew that under the present condition or during the state of emergency, and we should have been there assisting those homeowners and property owners to safeguard their property. The games are over. And I think the people are speaking. And I think they're speaking loud and clear. Like I said before, we've seen many mothers having 2 or 3 jobs at a time. They don't have the time to spend at home with the children. When we have in excess of over $14 billion sitting readily available to this government. When we have our mothers who can't get to school, or because they're working in the private sector, leaving work, not like government employees who may have 2 hours to go and check, but the private sector, they exist as well. We've forgotten that they exist. And 18,000 people of whom were impacted based on layoffs because of conditions, based on the pandemic, based on the storm, we forget that they exist. So our census numbers reducing from 107,000 to 87,000 thereabouts. Where are all those people in between? What has happened? What created that serious exit out of the Virgin Islands? Ask yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. And those of you who have loved ones who live on the mainland because of medical reasons, ask the question, why don't we have some of those services here in the Virgin Islands that would engage those loved ones of ours to come home? Crime has gone unaddressed. You hear that someone becomes maimed or killed on the street, it's just news of the day. It's not a growing concern or dire concern to make sure it's corrected. And why we ignore it, there's so much more that's going on. I want you to pay attention to some of the music that exists. And the music is drill, D-R-I-L-L. You hear young souls singing in those songs how they committed crimes and who they maimed and who they killed. This is something that was taking place in the mainland out here on our shores. And we are not educating and preparing our people to be aware to pay attention. So we say, when it comes to Mr. Benair and I, that we are here as public servants. Been servants all our lives, pretty much. We've been those on the side that's been pushing for many things to become of us, and at the same time realizing that we're the helm of individuals who are leading, who doesn't understand the direction. While they're trying to learn, you're dying. While they're trying to understand, you're in a position of demise. Your household, your family. Who are we? So, Mr. Benair, as I've been listening to you as you've been speaking, I realize that they're promising the retirees from 1918, 1919, and 20. We're looking at retirees who are waiting, and when you talk about 18, 19, and 20, where the funds are allocated to make sure that the retirees receive those benefits. Those are plans that was in place before the administration. And when someone's taking claim to fame, we know better. We ask that our people pay attention to how the messages are being delivered and what's being said now, very heavily on the height end of an election. The tariffs for the taxi drivers, as I listened as we talked about $1,000 for them, at the airport, while they build that ramp that goes over to Limburg Bay, where they're going to build this ferry dock, taxi drivers at the airport, you're going to find that your passengers that you would pick up from the airport to take to Sartola Wharf or to Red Hook, you're going to find that while you're at the airport, with that consistency of passengers, they're going to board the ferry from Limburg Bay to St. John and to Sartola. That's a fact. Look at the plans from the Port Authority. But they're not saying that to you guys. All they're doing is painting a picture. And when you go and you support them and you punch the number 2, if that's what they want, and you get them back in an office, everything that you hear right now will be a serious exodus of the promise. We're not promisers, we're doers. And we are saying to you, we understand the formula and work with individuals who've been working with us. Our local students that left our shores that went abroad are in what you call the top 500 fortune companies and want to come home. Individuals who've been hired by other governments, providing the services above and beyond, and wish they can do the same for our home. Our young students who left and went to work in other medical fields outside of the Virgin Islands because they said they didn't have the experience or all the sort of pushbacks that they have. We have a serious amount of them that want to come home, our own people. And for those young men and women who have been left on the side of the street, we have young ladies and gentlemen, who are working with the tourism department when cruise ships come in here, or when an aircraft comes in here with passengers. And these are young ladies and young men. I'm talking about a young lady that have gone away, gotten their education, got a degree, but because there isn't anything available, they have reduced to wearing something almost like a G-string and dance to parade themselves to welcome the guests to our shores. These are our children. Because they can't get something else that's more sustaining within the government, this is what we do to them. Our children, and yes, it was said that, oh, we can't believe we have students who have graduated from college that can't get a job in the Virgin Islands. It exists. We have a lot of our young men and women who are here in our Virgin Islands who can't get a job. But this government does not step in and place them to our Labor Department to make sure that they are employed. It is happening. And while we close our eyes and play blind, but we look at our veterans who want to leave this island to go to Puerto Rico. Some can't walk. They are assisted by others. It exists. But we pretend like it does not. The time has come for that change. We've expended $175 million to Cigna, the government insurance, and we're paying Cigna.
Yeah.
Through other agencies throughout the United States, and less than 50% of the Cigna funds that this government pays Cigna is being spent with our local physicians. Isn't that saying something? If you understand auditing, we haven't audited our government as far as service. Not money now, the service. What's the ratio to our senior citizens in the household as far as employees working with those seniors? What's the ratio to our children? And yes, our classrooms don't have, and it's a sad thing when I heard the governor say this. Yes, our classrooms don't have that amount of students that we had before. Yes. But Governor, that means that a lot of our children have left our shores. Did you realize that? Yes, the classrooms don't have that much students anymore. It's true. Because those students and families have left our shores.
Benja, we got 2 minutes. We got to wrap up. But I want to say to you, I'm thanking you as my running mate. I couldn't have a better person that care and love our young, our elderly, our forgotten, our veterans, and our retirees. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bernier Venture team is asking you tomorrow for that precious vote. And I want to let you know, we want to thank you so much for having the respect and the integrity in us to perform what's best for the people of the Virgin Islands. And with that, I want to thank the Virgin Islands, and God bless the people of the United States as well. Thank you, and thanks, audience, for this great day that we have been blessed with to proceed as good steward for worldly issues. With that, Benja, thank you.